Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl Dev, and today we're going to talk about the jumper nerf and essentially the part 2 of my first video that I made, because there's a lot of things I've uncovered and it kind of took some time and some dynamic to play around and talk to other jumpers creating jumper groups right now, and kind of how they're going through their processes from start all the way to finish, trying to figure out the best way for them to proceed with their jumper group and their plan to start in an early kingdom. And in this video, we're going to talk about that, some of the struggles, and some ways that you can kind of go around that and potentially try to get that. And I guess my cane wants to crash today, but that's all good. We're going to go ahead and hop right into it and talk some more about it. If you want to check out the description below, and it's going to have some different talking points that you may want to jump to get to the information right away. Stick around, sit back, and enjoy the ride. So there's a few things that we're going to talk about first to really cover about the jumper process and where I think some of the changes have been made and reasons why they've changed. So as you can see here, there's 8 kingdoms per continent. So each bracket is a continent. There's 8 kingdoms per one. And if you see ones open up, they only have 2. It's because, or 1, the other ones haven't been created yet. Now, in these continents, there's 4 different map types, and it goes from left to right and down, and it goes resets. It goes 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 and down and so forth. So as each map is created, each map is a different type. The top map, this one here, 88, is the same one as 84, and that continues down, and as new ones open, they follow the same guidelines. Now I'm going to show you something I found very interesting, okay, that talks about the jumper and the nascent kingdom, pretty much the kingdom status that it's in. We are going to look at right here, which is 2449. As you can see, the days, it's 8 days old, as you can see here, right? And if you look at the immigration status, it says entry of governors with beginners teleport. It's actually called a beginner's immigration ticket, is not yet capped, okay? That means that you can take your immigration ticket and from any kingdom previous to this one and jump to this kingdom. Now your city hall has to be 7 or less in order to jump to it, okay? Now I want you to make note that that kingdom is 8 days old, almost 9 days, and it's in that not fulfilled slash it's in an open status. So you can migrate to it right now with the beginner's immigration ticket. If you go to 2477, you get this, because the kingdom is over 10 days. When the kingdom is over 10 days old, which is the same length of a beginner's passport, you enter different immigration status. Okay, we can talk about that in another video, but essentially this means you can immigrate within your continent. If there's other things that has to prerequisites you have to meet in the early stage pre-KVK season 1, but that's covered in my other immigration video. But if a kingdom like this, 2480, right? So it's right after 2479. You look at this right here, it's immigration requirements. It's red out. It's red. You can migrate to this one with a beginner's immigration ticket. But you can immigrate to this one here that's a little bit older. Interesting, right? Well, I also noticed that all of these other odd number kingdoms are all open for teleports. You can create accounts in other kingdoms and come to this one with an immigration ticket, as long as your city hall is 7 and below. But this one is all red, and it's an even kingdom. So are they trying some new type method here? You could see they're all locked out. Now, I don't think any jumper groups were able to jump into those kingdoms. I might be wrong. I'm going to watch and see the next kingdom open up, which is 2488. It's 14 hours old, and I did create an account in that kingdom to kind of review the power rankings and stuff, and I tried to reach out to people within that kingdom, and I didn't get any feedback on if there were any jumpers in this kingdom. I find it really interesting that their power stats are what they are. This one is a day old in 13 hours. I also have the power stats for that one. Now, as we're going to go over these in a few minutes, you're going to see a drastic difference, and we're going to explain why that difference is and how I think it's going to impact the groups that want like 200 or 300 players to, join new kingdoms and stuff. But we're going to cover that in just a few moments. All right, so the kingdoms that I have listed here, I have two different windows separated. On the bottom side one, we have 2487, which is the odd number kingdom that is still open for immigration with beginner's teleport or beginner's passport. And then you have 2488 as pictured above. Okay, so 2488 is locked. You're unable to migrate with the beginner's passport. We're going to go over both rankings and kind of compare the two where they're at for top power and a top alliance. We'll start with individual power. And now the one that's right here on the bottom, it is a day and a half older and people can still migrate to it. Okay. So if you look at the power cap, I have to separate this just a little bit right here. There it is. So if you see the power cap here, it's 2 million power, right? And the next one's 1.5, 1.5, 1.5. Okay. Now, what I find very interesting when it comes to these, this is to me feels like a jumper group, because not only are their powers really high, if you compare it to the one that's been only open for just under 14 hours, it's 272,000. Now, I remember when I created a jumper, when I was ready to jump to my final kingdom, my power was like 250 or just over that. So the fact, and there were people like 500 and 600,000 jumping in the final kingdom. I almost wonder if there was no immigration in this kingdom, which is 2488, and that would make sense on the reason why their powers are much lower than what I would normally see in a kingdom that has a jumper group in it. The other really big note that we're going to look at is the power of the kingdom, okay, or of the alliance power. You see that in a day and a half, you have 48 million power. That means more than almost 50 players in that alliance are a million power. Some might be a little bit more than that. Some might be just under that. That's quite a lot for a kingdom that's a day and a half old. And if you think about it, that's actually kind of average when we have jumpers, because when we have people that are jumping into kingdoms with power already there, they've got a group, they already know where they're going, they got designated areas. And then you've got this one, right, where the strongest alliance is only 5 million power. And I remember jumping in a kingdom with all my jumper guides that I've done. 5 million power was like what it was the first few minutes before people started powering up, and it skyrocketed to 20 and 30 million power within the first hour. Okay. You see where I'm getting at? Like, I feel like Lilith is trying to find a balance for the people that just download the game for the very first time. They've never played before. They may be joining in kingdoms like this where they don't have to compete with jumpers, and then they can probably get introduced into the jumpers saying, hey, this is how it works, and just stay under City Hall 7 and build up your troops, build up your speed ups, and unlock some of the monument rewards, or at least help the kingdom unlock the monument rewards. You won't be able to claim them until you're higher City Hall level, but that's okay. But what I'm getting at is it's making that new player experience whenever they download the game a little bit better and tolerable for your brand new player. And then you can join a kingdom like this that has jumpers in it that now have the advantage because they know where to go, they know what to do, they're not making mistakes, they're going in as a group, it's coordinated, everybody can jump in sequence, we know when it's all dropping and opening. The problem that I'm going to see happen, and a lot of people are going to see happen, is that if this continues where they have even kingdoms like this that are open for everybody, and they have odd kingdoms like this that are open to only brand new accounts that day, you're not able to jump into it, then you're not ruining that new player experience. Like kingdoms like this, you kind of are. And if you remember when you first downloaded the game, how you experienced playing, what it was like to be overthrown by kingdoms like this, by people who've created jumpers, and they did this huge thing where they brought in a whole bunch of players at one time and all the spenders in one alliance. But I like this method. So I think the direction they're trying to go for is they're still allowing players that new experience while still cohering to those veteran players that want to do a new jumper with a bunch of people like their friends. So I kind of get where they're going with this, and I like that direction. You know, it would be nice to hear some guidance back from the creators of Rise of Kingdoms, but they're probably not going to come out with that. This is something that we just have to analyze, and this may be temporary. This may not be something that's permanent. So just keep that in mind whenever you're going through this, that things change, right? They made this change and didn't even tell anybody. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, this game is such a huge dynamic and the changes, and but they're trying to do is find the balance. They want to make it fair for all players starting new or starting with their friends. And I like this, okay? But now, is it permanent? I don't know. Is it going to change? Probably. How long is this going to last? Well, who knows? But I can tell you this, expect more things like this. Now, as we move forward to this and we progress into playing, and Lilith and Lagoo try to find a good balance of what's fair, what's not fair, where free-to-play is, where heavy spenders are. This is more free-to-play friendly, and this is more spender heavy, or friends versus I want to be on my own with a new account, and I don't want anyone to tell me what to do, and I want to do my own thing, right? I can see this morphing into more of, you're not going to be able to take advantage of the kingdom rewards like you are now. Like, I think that they might put a more restriction that you have to be in a nascent kingdom in the early stages in order to jump your account into a brand new kingdom. I can see them doing something like that. I can see them changing it to where you have to stay under KVK Season 1 in order to migrate to a nascent kingdom. I don't know, like, they've done some weird stuff. I could kind of see what they're going with this method. It's very helpful to the new players, but jumpers are going to be a lot more competitive with larger groups because they're going to be competing with a lot of players like this. So a lot of things to take into account, and it's very interesting to see how this is going to evolve. But, you know, like I said, this is all still things that we're trying to experiment with and get a better understanding of what they're doing and what they're trying to achieve. And I feel like this is the direction that they're going in. I did find it really interesting that when I created this account, well, they were on fire about an hour or two ago, but this guy here like burned a few cities here because their bubbles popped. I mean, that's the danger that you take when you're doing a jumper account, is that these cities get attacked early game and they don't really have a chance to do anything. So I thought that really interesting. In this part of the video, we're going to talk about the best time to create a jumper and maybe the worst time to create a jumper, and helping you guys out there that are watching this find the best time to create your jumper group and when you should do your start date and your final land date. And this is going to vary per person, of course, but some things you need to keep in mind, okay? So the first thing you need to think about is like when you should start your jumper, right? If they continue with this where they have one that's more restricted, one that's less restricted, you need to think about the events that maybe you're trying to achieve and trying to get, right? The rewards you may be trying to achieve for your group and your community that you're creating this for. So the first thing you think of is if it's a jumper group that you're trying to do a couple hundred players and you want to do around like the Christmas or Thanksgiving or any other holiday event or themed event, you need to remember that whenever you're doing this, you are jumping with a lot of people that are taking advantage of those new early game rewards. And those speed ups and resources are very helpful in your account, and cost only 7,000 gems to be able to get, but it might be hard to get the 7,000 gems in an early kingdom. So you may not get all of the rewards possible, but you're taking advantage of the most rewards because you're doing it during an event. And when you're doing it during a holiday event of some sort, you're getting more value for killing barbs and everything because you're doing the early stuff and you're getting that. So that's one thing to keep in mind whenever you are creating your account. Okay, so if you are doing it during an event, there's a lot of groups that use that method, and you could be jumping with a whole bunch of different jumper groups, which will inflate all of the powers of all of the kingdoms. And I think they kind of figured that out on the reason why they're putting a cap on it is because they saw kingdoms reach 100 players in like 5 minutes and it like locked out. So I think that they are trying to find a finesse to work best for all jumper groups and players that want to play. Now, I don't have a screenshot proof, but you can trust me on this. One of the rewards as of right now that you can get for free that have gold sculptors, legendary heads that you put into legendary commanders for free, is you find a kingdom finishing KVK season 1 that's going to get the 3 sanctuary rewards. And that is a claimable reward for everybody that's in that kingdom, no matter the power. So you're going to get 3 legendary commander sculptors. That's a pretty good buy. It's free, and all you have to do is be in the kingdom long enough to get those sculptors. And most of the other rewards that you would be able to claim, you can't because you have to be City Hall 16. And most of that's in the Crusader achievements. So you're not going to be able to get those, but you should be able to get the 3 Sanctuary, which is kind of like a Chronicle reward or a Twilight reward that's in your city on your monument. Something very similar to that. You'll be able to claim that and get those 3 legendary commander sculptors. Another way you could do it is you could do it during an RCF build. So you find a kingdom, old, that's, or new, however you want to do it, and that's completing an RCF, in Lost Kingdom. And as they're going through the different stages, the donating resources one, you have to have resources in order to get those. So that might be kind of difficult. But if you are an early kingdom and you want to do like a light and darkness, they have a farming event in the beginning of their KVK, so you'll be able to get those rewards for free for doing farming, and you're helping the kingdom that you're in, obviously, for points. And you can donate those coins as well. But going back to it is you can do that part. You can do the barbarians and the forts, but you're a low account, so the forts aren't really going to do anything for you. But the killing barbs portion of the RCF you can do. And then, of course, the third part, which is donating sculptors. Now, is that the best method? No. Why? Because you don't have sculptors to begin with because it's a jumper account. Unless you spent money and got free gold keys or silver keys, you're probably not going to have a lot of sculptors to donate to benefit from getting the free legendary sculptors by trading in the coins. There's a chance you might. And you can do it that way, but I just don't think the value is there. But you can donate resources and get those chests that you get from donating that. That's actually not that bad of an idea, but not the greatest. And it's not like the best option. Those are really the only 2 other beneficial reward methods you could do. There's not really much of anything out there because I think they're trying to limit the amount of rewards that you do get. But one of the best ones that you can do for your account, you create your jumper on an account that you have the King's Return, which is a account that you have like not touched in forever. So if you create one that you don't touch for 30 days, and you can open that account and you'll get a like King's Return option, and that allows you to start a new journey in a new kingdom. It doesn't matter what kingdom you start in, you can pick whatever kingdom you want. And I think that's really, really cool because you can hit go here. Oh, let me show you the rewards. You get food, wood, you get some gems, gold keys, and a teleport. And you can go to any kingdom you want and create this. Yeah. So you can go to any kingdom you want. And that's actually not a bad idea, right? If you wanted to create an account in an early kingdom or a late kingdom, wherever you are supposed to create this jumper with this jumper group, you can't. You can pick whatever kingdom you want. That's good because it's free reward. So if you're ever trying to do a farm, this also might be a good method for you if you're trying to create a farm account in another kingdom. I like this method, definitely awesome. And you get some rewards with that. You don't have to use this account. It's a trash account. You don't really need it. You can forget about it and move on to the next one. Let's quickly recap some things that we talked about here. So we talked about how the kingdoms are looking right now as you're creating a new jumper account or a jumper group. We talked about how the nascent phase is 10 days long and how that kind of factor plays into how each kingdom's statuses may change. Remember, the statuses do change based on the amount of governors that join the kingdom early. We think that there's a cap at like 100 or 200. Maybe it's less, maybe it's more. We really don't know, but you can kind of assume that they've changed the way it works. So you really need to be careful when you're doing large jumper groups. We talked about when the best time to create a jumper group or create your jumper account. If you're doing an individual account, it's best to do it, during an event. If you're doing it during a group, you could risk not being able to make your final jump because of the amount of jump people that are doing the same thing you are. The other thing we talked about was the best kingdoms to create your jumpers in. Now remember, you might have to do some research on finding that right kingdom, but it could be worth it if you are doing a large group and you want some free rewards like legendary commander sculptures. And this kind of plays off of my last Nurf video. I've talked a lot about the jumper process in my series, and you'll be able to see the series in the link in the description below. If you haven't yet, it's a great series. I take and break down every little part of being in a jumper along with creating a jumper group. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to drop a like and subscribe to the content. Drop a comment below what you think of this change and what my impressions are of it. And you can always reach out to me in my Discord. Link is in the description for that as well. But that's it for me, guys. So for now, just keep it real.